How all of you doing? It is your buddy, Chris, aka Mr. Ramon 420. Yeah. And I'm back with this Monday edition of the review show. Hopefully all of you had a nice weekend enjoying the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure my team either won or lost. I don't know. It's, I think, Sunday morning at 4 a.m. and I just got done watching the movie I had to review for today's show. Before I go into all that, I want to thank everyone that showed up for my first ever live chat. Had a fun time. It slowly built up, but thanks to Andy Schumake, sorry, it's early. My friend Danny, several other people, and Ted fucking Bundy. Yes, Ted. Ted Bundy showed up for my live chat, and apparently he has a massive cock, and he likes to talk about it. It was awesome. Yeah. If you're on Facebook, stop by my page. We'll talk and, maybe one day meet up and have a few beers. All right. But yeah, I had a great time talking to all of you. And apparently my life's more interesting than talking about movies, because the things we dealt with, my love for strippers, the escorts, and massage parlors. Ooh, the massage parlors. Oh, and the places I traveled. And meeting John Wayne Gacy one time. Who knows? But it was good talking to all of you. I love doing it. And yes, I will be doing one next month on March 8th. At 7:30, because I figured 7 p.m. might be too early, so 7:30 can be a little bit better. And if you guys can come make it out for it, I really appreciate it, because I know a few of you couldn't make it because you were busy or working, or you just kind of forgot, which is totally fine. I appreciate you thought of me, like, oh, sorry I missed you. That's okay. But it meant a lot to me. You guys showed up. I really thought it was just going to be like me and one or two people, and that was it. But no. It started growing more and more. Like, oh, okay, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. Yay! So yeah, remember next month, March 8th, 7:30 p.m. I'm gonna try to repeat it like every video, just to remind you guys, like, here for. And in case you missed out, it's up. So if you want a chance to take a look at what all the hoopla or non-hoopla was about, is there. Also, PayPal.me. Yes, PayPal.me, the place that can help people like you support a person like me, a schlub. Yeah. So if you feel like supporting me in any way possible, I'd really appreciate it. Just click on the link in the description box. That would mean a lot to me. So I will be back in a couple minutes, and we'll talk to you about the movie I got to review for you today, which was an interesting experience. Really interesting. Stay tuned. Alright, guys. Appreciate you sticking around. It means a lot to me. Okay, so about a month and a half ago, I got contacted by the director of the film I'm going to be talking about today, Michael S. Rodriguez, and he asked if I'd be able to take a look at his film. I saw the trailer for it, and I thought, okay, seems interesting enough. Let me give it a shot. And it's an anthology. Now, let's be honest. Most of us have seen the anthologies. We're horror fans. They're a dime a dozen. And 1 out of every 20 works. Because, man, the other 19 just never work out. But I gotta say, this was a bit of an interesting case for this one. The film is entitled Last American Horror Show. It actually stars Lynn Lowry, Felissa Rose, and Jim Van Bebber. Yes, that Jim Van Bebber. And basically, it's the idea of Felissa Rose is talking to her sister, and she is bringing a first-time blind date over to her place, and they're gonna have a good time and relax and watch a movie. Now, when the guy first shows up, he seems pretty, casual, relaxing. Seems like a nice guy, and is a bit of a Christian person. And he's like, listen, if you're not Christian, I can't deal with that. And it's like, okay, this guy's standards, and he seems interesting, but Felicity saying, well, let's sit down and watch it. But you do get an idea that he's a little sneaky. He says, well, we'll watch a movie, and at the end of it, I get a kiss. And Felicity says, but I don't know you. It's like, yes, but I'll be here for this. It's like, oh, okay. So this is going to be interesting. And Felicity puts in Last American Horror Show, and I thought, ooh, movie within a movie. I like that concept. Pretty interesting. And the film basically has 4 films altogether, even though it says it's a trifecta of horror films, horror stories. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And they pop it in, and the first story is Homewrecked. And the editing kind of comes into play, like, oh no, I did not see what I just saw. Nothing that there was anything wrong with the story, but the editing kind of like, ooh, that didn't work out too well. So we're introduced to the first story, as entitled Homewrecked. Basically, you first come upon a drug dealer and a junkie who's trying to get his fix. And the guy says, please, I need my fix. I really need to get this. And the guy says, no, you can't have it. At least I think I said I didn't quite hear, because it was, let's just say the ADR wasn't the best. So the junkie gets his fix. He brings it back to a car with, his girlfriend, and there's a dude in the back, and they're all having a good time, and they're hanging out in front of this house. You don't know why. All of a sudden, there's a car that pulls up, and the guy that got the drugs realized, like, we need to get this woman. She's the manager of a bank, and I'm thinking, it's like, well, managers of a bank, they're not rich people. They're just like, hey, I got a job. But he assumes that they're going to have money, which I guess is okay. And the woman comes home, and the bank manager, she comes home, and she speaks to her husband, and you realize the husband's Jim Van Bember. It's like, oh, it's Jim, awesome, good to see him on there. Yeah. They're talking to have a nice time, and they're expecting company, her father, to show up. And Jim and the wife say to the father, we have a surprise for you. I can't drink tonight because I'm having a baby. And father's like, oh, this is amazing. And then all of a sudden, father starts talking about Vietnam and the tragedies he suffered through. Like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And while the father's talking about his past tragedies and horrors and PTSD, Jim is having tragedies, horror, and PTSD, and you see the frustration and anger build up with him. And then all of a sudden, the three junkies come in, and they basically, it becomes a home invasion that goes really bad, basically to the point of people die and tragedy erupts, where there's some good gore to it. I do have to say, there was some nice throat slitting and blood pouring out, and it ends on a bit of a sad note. Just, oh, that was a shame. So I'll be right back, and I'll tell you the couple of the other stories. Okay, guys, appreciate you sticking around. So the next story is entitled Night of the Sea Monkey. Basically, it's set in the 1980s, and you have a husband and wife. There are 3 kids, the oldest son, the younger sister, who's 18, and the youngest son, who is Toby, and I think he's probably around 8 years old. So Toby finds this advertisement for sea monkeys, and he wants to get it. He asks his dad. Dad says yes, and they get the package, and he puts the sugar water inside a bowl full of water. Nothing happens for 2 weeks, and the mom says, we gotta let this go, and Toby seems really upset. And she decides she's gonna dump it down the kitchen sink, and you think, okay, this is fine. But mom's really upset. I mean, like, seriously pissed off that she has to do this, situation. Yeah, she has to do this. I'm like, What the fuck? It's not a big deal. Just do it. Okay, so that night rolls around, and Dad goes to Toby and said, we need to have a talk. So he takes him to his drinking lounge, because you assume Dad's just an alcoholic, and he is. Now, in this situation, I hear probably one of the worst father-son conversations, pep talks, that I've ever heard in my entire life. Basically, the father says, do you know why your brother or sister don't have, any pets? Here, I'll tell you why. It's because of Tippy. Now, Tippy was a pit bull that Dad owned a long time ago when he was a kid. Things went wrong, and he decided to tie Tippy out in the middle of the woods. And after he got sick and tired of hearing Tippy howling for life, he decides to go out into the woods and blow his fucking brains out. Yeah, that's a spirit. Great way to tell to your 8-year-old son. Seriously, Mike, what the fuck? No, that's just bad. Really bad. Oh, and while this is happening, apparently something's going on with the sea monkey in the pipes underneath the basement. He seems to be growing, and it kind of reminds you of Class of Nukem High, the first one, way back in the 80s, where the girl had a miscarriage, she threw up the baby, and it just grew, but thanks to toxic waste, it grew into a life-size monster. Sorry. So anyway, it's a couple weeks later, and Grandma comes to visit. You realize, as soon as she opens up her mouth, she's a retarded whore. Because, the mom asks what everyone do today. Grandma says, oh, I crap my pants. Like, no one wants to hear that. And then she mentions to her granddaughter that, you need to get kids. You need to get knocked up. Even though the granddaughter's only 18, but that's okay. And she goes off, and apparently, I couldn't believe I heard this. If I didn't have that back alley abortion, you would have had a half-black brother. And everyone's laughing, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? I could live with this if it was like, 17 years old. But there's an 8-year-old kid there. You don't have these conversations. Okay, so it gets weird. It really gets weirder. So the mom decides she's going to do the dishes, thanks to Grandma. That was an interesting case. The mom's doing the dishes, and apparently the sea monkey comes up and kills Mom, just in a apparently brutal way. And then the sea monkey goes after the older brother, kills him while he's working on his car, and then is looking around the house. Oh, we're then also introduced to the daughter's boyfriend, who apparently after 3 days, that if she isn't putting out, she's horrible and a whore. Okay. So they decide they're going to go back in her place and fuck in her bedroom. And the boyfriend gives her a Spanish fly, which I thought would just made women hornier. No, apparently it's a roofie, because 10 minutes after the daughter took it, she passed out. Like, oh, that's not horrible. Oh, I forgot to mention, the sea monkey fucks the daughter. And it just... I'm sorry, that's my picture of what the sea monkeys look like. Okay, so Toby is walking over to see his mom, and he realizes, oh shit, she's dead. He then runs to his brother, saying, oh, Mom's dead. He realizes, oh, the older brother's dead, and he tries to, get help from Dad. But apparently Dad's in the shower with a scotch in one hand and a joint in the other. I kid you not. This actually happened. What the fuck? So he goes to Grandma, and not only you find out that, Grandma is a retarded whore, But she's senile also, because as soon as Toby comes up and talks to her, she's like, "Who are you? Oh, you're not. I know this is routine. You guys going to," and she's mumbling something. I don't know. So he convinces Grandma this is what happened, and shit goes down. People die, and the ending's interesting. I don't want to give it away because it was actually so chaotic that you look around like, what the fuck? But the end, like, oh, Grandma, your daughter's gonna have a baby. I'll be back. So now we're at the final story entitled Landfill. Now we're introduced to this guy on the road driving to a conference, and apparently he's basically breaking up with his girlfriend on the phone. But you also find out that he's been a dickhead. He's been naughty with some other women aside from his girlfriend. And you realize what will happen to him later will be well deserved. So while he's having this conversation with the girlfriend, someone decides to put a board of nails on the road, gives him a few flat tires, which makes the guy walk down or try to find some help. When he actually comes across this country fellow, and he's like, "Whoa, welcome to the man of the hour. Welcome to the Landfill." And the guy says, "Listen, I just need a phone." "Well, I got plenty of phones. I'll just come with me, and I'll get you a phone." And he's taken to this little hall where there's music, there's dancing, there's some pretty women, and he's having a good time. And the guy gives our asshole a drink, which basically was the same drug that apparently was given to the daughter in the other story. And unfortunately, while this is going on, there's all these flashes of horrific nightmares going on, and it's really impressive. And then all of a sudden, he's being strapped to the table, and he becomes the main course, the feast for these cannibalistic people of this country town. And it's really gory. I mean, impressively gory. I liked it a lot. It worked. Of course, I couldn't hear a lot of stuff, so that was a bit of a problem. And they're upset because they got done their meal, but they want to have another. So they said, "Well, let's do another." Yeah, right. And that's how the story ends. So now we go back to the first story where Phyllis arose, and the date is there, and the date's, how should I say, is becoming a little rapey. So she doesn't like this, and she decides she's going to introduce her sister to the date, and the guy's dead. And that's how the film ends. And I gotta say, the film was unique. It was on the fence between something really fucking amazing and something, you just tried. You really tried your best. And that's a shame, because I wanted to enjoy the hell out of it, and for a lot of parts I did, but there were some aspects I wasn't a big fan of. The editing, for instance, it's supposed to transition from the first story where Phyllis Rose and the date are on the couch and they're ready to watch it, but it takes like 30 seconds, the screen goes black, and then it pops up the title sequence. There's no easy, smooth transition. It's like, oh, that's not good. And then the ADR, or additional dialogue, it's horrible for a lot of it. You can hear some parts and not others. Like the conversation the dad has with Toby, I couldn't hear a fucking word. I heard tippy and gunshots, and that was it. This happened quite a few times. Oh, and when the music was playing in the Landfill story, the country fella is speaking to our asshole, and he's like, did you hear what I said? No? Good, because that's how I felt. I'm watching, like, what the fuck? I couldn't tell you how many times it happened. So there was problems with this. I really was hoping it would have been a rough draft and not like this is the final project, because there's some great aspects. It's a nice idea, a nice story. I liked a lot of the acting. For the most part, Lynn Lowry, who portrayed the retarded whorish grandma, her acting worked really well for a lot of it, but for some parts it was like, no, this is... Now, there's... It doesn't say who did the script, but the camera work, not the best. Also, the lighting, it was tough to see people, really hard. You could see most of it, but for the majority of it, it's, you know, you see people walking in the street, and it's all in black, so you can't see if someone's walking out. It's just, there's nothing there. And I don't know who did the script, if it was all improv, because it doesn't say, and that became a bit of a problem. So, for as good as most of its parts were, there are a lot of bad parts. Should I suggest you not get it? No. Because honestly, it was an interesting anthology, and it's hard to find good anthologies out there. Yeah, there's VHS, the first one. Yeah, there's probably a couple of other, but honestly, I can't remember, because it's like, good anthologies, that's a tough one. So, yeah, and it's you know what I mean. And there's one that was supposed to come out a long time ago, the Profane Exhibit. Oh, man, I can't wait for it to show up. But, truthfully, and I don't know, and I know Michael's done some stuff before. I just saw him do Jack Incarnate, and that was pretty impressive. But this was actually unique. I do have like one or two problems. There's no behind the scenes. There's no commentary. There's really no big special effects, except for trailers. And one of the trailers is House of Forbidden Secrets. No! Oh, but I gotta say that acting, and I was great to see Van Baber, you know, kick some true ass, you know, in his story. So great job. So yeah, definitely it would be a nice addition to, you know, your collection if you want to get it. It's on sale on Amazon for like $13. So if you want to pick a copy for yourself, or you can rent it on Amazon for $2, and if you want to buy it online, it's $9. So if you want to go it that way, go for it. So yeah, it's definitely be something nice to add to your collection. As though there were some problems, there's some good aspect. Everyone, I thank you for your time. It means a lot that you stuck around to this very long video. So Wednesday I'm going to be doing Kill Syndrome from Scott Collins. It's a real old video, old movie, and I'm excited to check it out. And yeah, it looks interesting. But all of you have been fucking amazing. And again, March 8th, 7:30 p.m., I'll be doing my live Q&A. Or no, just live chat, live show. And of course, be on the lookout. And if you can, help out any way with PayPal.me. It means a lot. Okay, all of you, I love you all to death. You've been fucking amazing. So until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and don't drink the Kool-Aid. See ya.